Hi, my name is Megan Van Harn, and today we're going to be taking vital signs of a horse. This is my lovely assistant Abe, and we will be taking them in cross ties today. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to take vital signs in your horse. The first thing that you need to know when taking vital signs in your horse is that you're now normally not going to do it in cross ties. We're going to do it in cross ties today because he's obviously not in distress and he seems healthy. The first thing that you're going to look at when taking overall vital signs in your horse is his overall appearance. So obviously Abe here is very relaxed and he's having a lot of fun in the cross ties. The first thing you're going to check is going to be, you're going to go through your mucous membranes, and then you're going to do capillary refill time, and then you're going to check your pulse, your skin pinch, your heart rate, your gut sounds, your respiration rate, and then your temperature. Alright, the second vital sign that you're going to check in your horse is going to be your horse's pulse. Now there's three places that we can check the pulse. It's going to be your maxillary artery, which is right underneath the jaw here, your radial artery, which is on the inside, on the back of the knee, and then the third place is your digital pulse down here behind the pastern. You're only going to be able to feel a digital pulse if there's something wrong with the foot, which could be an abscess or laminitis or founder or things like that. So we don't actually check for a pulse there unless we have an idea that there might be a problem in the foot. The main places to take the pulse is going to be right under your maxillary artery right here. When taking the pulse in your horse, any normal range is going to be anywhere from 32 to 44 beats per minute. If their pulse rate is any higher than this, it may be due to stress, excessive heat, or they may have just been exercised and come in from turnout and may have just been excited. So when you take this, you're going to go underneath your jawbone here, and you're going to find your maxillary artery. And then once you find your pulse rate there, you're going to have a timer, which I can time myself because I'm an athlete and I'm used to taking my own pulse. So when you do this, you're going to have your timer time for either 10 or 15 seconds. I prefer 15 because it's more accurate. And then when you're done counting your pulses in the 15 seconds, you're going to multiply it by either 6 or 4, depending on how long you time. So if you time by 15 seconds, then you're going to multiply by 4. So I'm going to take Abe's pulse rate here. Alright, and I stopped at 15 seconds and I counted 8 pulse beats there. So 8 times 4 would be 32, which would put Abe on the lower end of the normal range. So the next vital sign that you're taking on your horse is going to be your capillary refill time. This tests the circulation of your horse's blood. Normal horses range anywhere from 1 to 2 seconds. So how you're going to test that is you're going to go back to your mucous membrane on your horse's gums. So you're going to grab his upper lip with your top hand so he's not trying to bite your hand. And you're going to gently press your thumb against it for 2 to 3 seconds. And then you're going to take it off and you're going to count how long it takes for color to return. So on Abe here, pull up his upper lip. I'm going to place my thumb on his gums right here. And then take it off. And his took about 2 seconds, which is within normal ranges for a horse.
2, 1.
Okay, so the first vital sign that you're going to check on your horse is going to be the mucous membranes. Now there's 2 places that you can check the mucous membranes. The first is the conjunctiva of the eye. So it's going to be right here on the lower lid. And what you're looking for is moist and light pink. And that tells that your horse is hydrated and in good working order. The second place that you can check is in his gums. So you're going to put your top hand right here and make sure that you're not standing directly in front of your horse because you don't want him to be able to bite you or do anything like that. And then you're going to look at your mucous membranes right here on the horse's gums. And like his are slightly light or pale, but that might be due to the lighting. And like I said, when I rub my finger across there, you can tell that they're obviously moist, so he's obviously very hydrated and he's healthy. 4 other colors that you might see are things like yellow, which could indicate jaundice, lightish blue or purple would be lack of oxygen. If he was pale, he might be in shock, which he's not right now, obviously. And Another one would be a fiery red color, which could indicate that he has a fever. So the next vital sign that you're going to be taking on your horse is what we call a skin pinch. Normal for a skin pinch would be anywhere from 1 to 2 seconds. This tests for hydration in your horse. So if your horse tense, or like when you pinch here and his skin stays up in this position, it's called tenting. If he tense like that, that could either mean that he's dehydrated, or it tends to happen a lot in some older horses just because their skin isn't quite flexible as it used to be. So when you take it on this horse, you're going to do it right in their like triangular neck area right here. You don't want to get too close to the shoulder or too far up the neck because the skin's already fairly taut. So you're just going to grab and pinch right there, and then you're going to count how long it takes it to return to normal. So right here, took it about 1.5 seconds, and then you can take it again just to be sure. And once again, his returns to normal fairly quickly. So Abe's in the normal range, and he's obviously very hydrated, and he's doing very well. So the next vital sign that you're going to be taking on your horse is going to be heart rate. Heart rate is going to be a mirror of your pulse rate, so it should be relatively the same but may differ depending on how long ago you took it or what kind of stresses or excitement the horse had at that time. The normal range is again 32 to 44. If it's anywhere over that, just like the pulse rate, it could be from things like exercise or stress or excitement or excessive heat. You're going to take it the same way that you take the pulse timing-wise, so you're going to take it for 15 seconds and you're going to count how many heartbeats that you hear, and then you're going to multiply that number by 4. So in order to take Abe's heart rate, we're going to use our stethoscope and then our timer. And then it's a lot quieter than you might think, and it might take you a second to find it. So in that 15 seconds, I counted his heart beating 8 times, so I would do like I did with the pulse rate, and I would multiply that times 4, and so he's at 32, which is within the average range for a normal horse. So the next vital sign that you're going to be checking in your horse are gut sounds. Normal gut sounds include gurgling, and you want it to be like a constant, like gurgling, rumbling type deal. You don't want to hear major gaps or things like that. You're going to check all 4 of your quadrants, so you have upper and lower on both sides. Some abnormal gut sounds that you might hear are things like pinging, which could indicate distension in the bowel, rushing sounds, which may indicate that your horse is hypermodal, or no sounds at all, which could indicate that your horse's bowels are no longer functioning, in which case that you need to find a vet as soon as possible and get that taken care of. So in order to find gut sounds, you can either listen with your ear, or if you have a stethoscope, that's generally more accurate because it's easier to hear with. So you're going to put on your stethoscope, and you're going to check upper and lower on both sides. And like that, you might have to adjust it a few times just to find the right spot. And there they go. His are a little bit quieter, so they're harder to hear. And then when you walk around the back of your horse, be sure to stay closer to it and make sure that you're touching him, so that way he knows that you're there and you don't get kicked. And then you're going to check the other side. And there they go again. And then when you do gut sounds, I like to place my hand on the horse just so that way he knows that I'm here, and I also like to face his back feet so that way if he does decide that he doesn't like what I'm doing, I can be sure to see his feet and know when to get out of the way. The next vital sign you're going to check on your horse is going to be your horse's respiration rate. Now you could do this by checking the nostrils, but it's quite unreliable as sometimes horses get excited and their nostrils don't flare the way that they normally would. The best place to check it is going to be right here on their flank. And some people like to just look at it, but I would much rather just place my hand here because then I can feel it going in and out. One breath is going to be equal to the in and out motion, so it's going to be in, out is 1. The normal for horses is anywhere from 8 to 20 breaths per minute. This could change depending, once again, on exercise or heat or temperature, things like that. So when I take mine, I like to place my hands up on top of him so he knows that I'm here. And then I like to place my hand on the flank. And you're going to time this the same way you did your pulse rate and your heart rate. So I'm going to time for 15 seconds because that's more reliable in my opinion. And then I'm going to count how many times he breathes in and out. And then I'm going to multiply that times 4. Okay, so he only took 2 breaths in that time, which 2 times 4 would be 8, which would put him at the lower end of the normal range for a resting horse. Okay, so the last vital sign that you're going to take on your horse is going to be his temperature. Now there are 2 ways that you can take this. You can either take it with a mercury thermometer like the one that I have here, or you can take it with a digital thermometer. You just want to be careful as digital thermometers, while they may be quicker, they also tend to read temperatures a bit lower. So if you have a temperature that's on the high end with a digital thermometer, you're probably going to want to take that with a mercury thermometer just to figure out where your horse is actually at and whether or not you need to contact a vet right away. Normal ranges for horses is going to be anywhere from 99.5 to 101.5. The normal horse sits at about 100.4, but this may depend on the horse and the heat of the day or things like that. So when you take your temperature, if you're using a mercury thermometer, you're going to want to make sure that you grab your clip so you don't break it, and then you're going to shake it down so that way your temperature goes down. And then you're going to check and make sure that you're within normal ranges for it to start at, so that way you're not reading the temperature of the air before you stick it in there. And then you're going to coat the end of your thermometer in, you can either use like petroleum jelly like we have here, or you can use KY jelly or something like that. So I'm going to make sure that I take the jelly out of the jar and not dip my thermometer into the jar, as that's highly unsanitary. I'm going to put that down over here. I'm going to coat the end of my thermometer in this petroleum jelly. And you can take temperature from either side, but honestly I prefer to do it from the other side just because I'm right-handed and it works better for me. So once again, crossing behind your horse, you want to make sure that you're using safety and caution, and you want to make sure that you're touching him and that he knows that you're there. So when you take your temperature, you're going to get rid of any extra jelly on your hand. And then you're going to gently move your horse's tail off to the side. And you're going to insert your thermometer directly into the rectum. And then you're going to slightly and very gently press it up against the rectal wall. So that way you're reading the temperature of the horse and not the temperature of his poop. And for mercury thermometers, you have to leave them in from anywhere for 2 to 3 minutes. 3 is more accurate, so that's what we're going to leave ours in for. So when you do that, you're going to make sure that you clip it to the top of the tail, as sometimes they suck in the thermometers, and you definitely don't want to lose your thermometer in your horse, because then you're going to have a bigger issue. Okay, so we've had our thermometer in for about 3 minutes now, so we're going to take it out. So once again, you're going to gently slide his tail out of the way and unclip it from his tail. Then you're going to grab your clip in there and then grab the thermometer. And I just like to use some of his tail hairs to clean off the extra KY jelly or petroleum jelly that's on there. Just slide that off. And you want to make sure that you're keeping your fingers off of the thermometer, as this may affect how the thermometer reads. So right here you're going to be able to see and you'll be able to read. Sometimes you have to tilt it at certain angles. So this one, his temperature is at about 100 degrees exactly, which puts him within normal ranges for the horse, as anywhere from 99.5 to 101.5. When taking vitals on your horse, you do have to remember that there are going to be some differences between when your horse is normal and happy and everything is fine and when your horse is in distress. So when your horse is in distress, you're going to have a lot of differences, like you're never going to have your horse in cross ties because they're going to be having struggles anyway and they're not going to want to stand still, and that's going to make it very hard to get vital signs. You're also going to probably want to have an extra person to time your pulse rate or your heart rate and things like that, just so that way you know what your time is and you're not having to focus on your watch and your horse and your vital sign that you're taking at the time. And then you just always want to make sure that you have a handler so that way your horse isn't moving around or doing anything crazy. So this is how you're going to take your vital signs in your horse. Thank you for watching my video, and just remember that in anything that you do with the horse you have to use caution, so especially when messing around his hind end, and normally when taking vitals you wouldn't take them in cross ties because they're already going to be in distress if you need to take them, and in which case there are quite a few horses that don't like having their temperature taken rectally, and they're going to protest very violently to that, so make sure that you have a handler and that they know what they're doing. And with your handlers, you're going to have your handler on the same side of the horse as you, just so that way they can see you and you can see them, and so that way you both know who's doing what and what's about to happen. Thank you for watching my video. I hope this helps you find vital signs in your horse.